Hi there, my name's Ed Watson. I'm a teacher from Gloucester, and I've just written a book, Top Tips for New Teachers, which condenses all the tips and advice I've learned over the years into a book to help new teachers entering the profession. And in today's episode, we're going to look at career advice no one ever tells you about. And we're going to look in particular at three main strands: applying for jobs, the interview process, and career progression. So applying for jobs. Now, recruitment can happen all year round. However, it's unlikely that many jobs are going to be recruited for within the summer holidays, for example. So it's mainly term time appointments. And I've found that most of the jobs are advertised kind of from September until about Easter. Now, I would start looking on different recruitment websites. So there are a few, and I talk about a few in the book. But if you just search for some teacher recruitment sites, you will be able to set an alert on your phone or on an email, and you can put in certain criteria. So it might be that you're a history teacher from Manchester, and you can set a search radius. So you could say, okay, I'm looking for history jobs within a 10-mile radius of an address in Manchester, and then whenever a history job then comes up on that site, you will get an email and you can have a look at the job description, the person specification, and a bit more about the school. So I'd definitely say make sure you set an alert, especially when you're training to teach, and don't leave it till the last minute. I don't think potentially teacher training providers often remind students of the importance of that, because I often bump into certain people in April, May time, and they're looking for jobs. They've just started looking for jobs now. By then, a lot of them will have gone. Particularly for trainees and NQTs, I think most of them are going to have been appointed from January onwards. So I would definitely be looking from about Christmas. That 6-week period after Christmas, there's going to be a lot of jobs being advertised there for the following September start. So I would definitely go on those sites, set an alert, and get on it, really. And it's also about being alert. You don't have to jump the gun. It's not saying, oh my word, there's a history job and it's September the 1st, I'm going to go for it for the following September. Take time. You need to make sure that the place that you're going to work at fits with your values. It's easier said than done, but it's definitely worth checking out the school, checking out the prospectus, checking out the different aspects of the school to make sure that that is somewhere that you would like to work. Because if not, it can be quite a long process if you're in a school that doesn't fit with your values, and it's going to be quite difficult for you. So be alert, set alerts, don't rush, but also don't delay. You don't want to be in a position where you've not applied for a job and it's March, April time, and by which time most of them will have gone. Okay, so I would probably suggest that from January you're really alert, and January I found that most of the jobs for kind of PGCE trainees for a September start are going to be advertised. Now the second one is the interview process. So I must stress, an interview process is a two-way process. Most people, especially when you're new to teaching, you think, oh my word, I really need a job. If a school offers me a job, I'm going to take it. Now there is an element to that where if you've not got a job, you need a job for September, so you're willing to take any job. But like I've just said, it's really important that the school that you go to fits with your values. So make sure that when you're on that interview day, you're looking around the place, you're speaking to different members of staff, and you're almost checking out the school just as much as the school's checking you out. So is this somewhere where you could envision yourself learning, developing and teaching the first few years of your career? If there are alarm bells, make sure that you find out the answers to those within that interview day. Make sure you potentially ask an interview, make sure you ask colleagues, make sure you ask anyone in that school to see if they can answer those queries. Because like I said, if you end up in a school that doesn't quite fit with your values, although it's not the end of the world, it can be a bit more difficult than if you go somewhere where you just absolutely love. The other thing that I would also stress is, what is their behaviour policy? As a new teacher, you want to be supported with the behaviour management of your class. If it's every man for themselves, then okay, fine, it rings alarm bells, but you might be someone that would absolutely love that. but you might also think, okay, well, I'm probably going to need a bit of support. So ask them about it. If it's not obvious, ask them in an interview, what's your behaviour policy like? What support can you offer me whilst I'm at this school with my own development? The other thing is the interview day. So the interview day is often quite standard. So for a teaching job, you might turn up. You're going to introduce the head teacher is going to introduce themselves. You've probably got a chance to mingle with the other candidates before your day starts. The day might start with a pupil tour. So you might have a couple of pupils that take you around the school. That's a really good opportunity to ask pupils questions because they will be honest. And you'll be able to get a bit more of a flavour of the school without potentially having it filtered by members of the senior leadership team. So the pupils will take you around the school. It's a good chance if you want to look at certain aspects of the school, you can ask the students to take you there. It might be that you want to check out what their sports like or their music provision or anything like that. You'll then be asked to teach a lesson. Now with that lesson, it's really important that you take all of the resources with you. It's about taking ownership and being in control. If you turn up and you're asking for paper, you're asking for calculators, you're asking for colouring pencils, you're asking for this, that and the other, it just shows you're a bit unprepared. And you're giving the school a bit more work than they want. They just want you to turn up, teach, and they're going to assess your teaching. So take everything you need with you to that interview process. You've then got a lesson. You might have a chance to give some feedback, or they'll give you some feedback on it. And there'll also be an interview process, which will probably be the head teacher, potentially the head of the department, and potentially someone else. They'll ask you some questions, and I've got some example questions that I talk about in the book. And it'll just be standard questions that you could probably think of that they're going to ask you. Why do you want to work at this school? And certain bits like that. But make sure it's a learning experience. Make sure that you learn a lot about that school and that you are prepared for that day as much as possible. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is career progression. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, it's really encouraged that if you love teaching, and say, for example, you're a physics teacher and you just absolutely love physics and you've got no desire whatsoever to climb the leadership ladder and become a head teacher or become a head of department, then that is 100% absolutely spot on. No one's got any problems with that, and it's an incredibly valuable asset to your school and to the profession. So there's no concerns whatsoever. I think for a lot of people when they join schools, it's almost like if you don't want to be a head teacher, then why are you a teacher? It's like, no, that's absolutely wrong. There's some people that potentially want to climb the leadership ladder. There's some people that don't, and that's absolutely fine. But for those that are interested, the best thing that I can tell you is to concentrate on your teaching first. Later down the line, if you're a head of department and you've been promoted too quickly and your teaching's not very good, you're going to lack respect from your colleagues. So make sure that you've really, really, really nailed your teaching. If that takes you a couple of years, if that takes you not a couple of years, if that takes you years and years and years to develop before you then start wanting to go into leadership, that's absolutely fine. Because like I said, if you're a head of department or a second in department or a senior leader, middle leader, if you can't teach, it's going to be quite difficult for you to get the respect of your colleagues when you're then asking them how to teach, or if you're telling them what to teach and exactly how to do it, unless your own teaching is very, very strong in the first instance. The second thing is look at your own blind spots. So if, for example, you're thinking about becoming a second in department, or you're thinking about becoming a head of year or a head of house, something like that, I would set an alert on the teacher recruitment websites and look at some of them. Look at some of their teacher job descriptions or person specifications and evaluate yourself against those aspects and see what happens. If you have some blind spots, what are you going to do to address them? What are you going to find to make that better for yourself and to improve? And then the last one is lead without a title. Just because you haven't got a second in department or head of department or middle leader or head teacher or you name it, be a leader without a title. Anyone can do anything. Just because you haven't got a title doesn't mean you can make an impact. So once you've absolutely nailed your teaching, if there's a problem, solve it yourself. See what you can do. And then once you've got that experience, once you've got that under your belt, the other opportunities will just start opening themselves up to you. So that was the end of this episode. In the next one, we're going to talk briefly about pay, and some things there about pay that again you just often found to find out for yourself. But thanks for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode.